Hi, my name's Maxine Paynter. I'm a web developer and freelance consultant, and I work mostly in the non-for-profit space. And I'm here to talk to you about accessibility. Accessible websites are for everyone and not just for individuals living with disabilities. Over 20% of the population identifies as disabled. And while making websites is legislated most of the time in various regions across the world, it's also just simply the right thing to do. It's not a fad, and it's the digital space moving in the right direction. And that's something that I want to be a part of. So what does digital accessibility actually mean? And what it means is making digital content accessible, meaningful, and useful to individuals living with a broad range of abilities. So it means addressing common issues that are experienced by people who may have disabilities spanning from visual to auditory or from cognitive to neurological. And it means that you're creating a digital space that's built for everybody. So the Web Content Accessibility Standards, also known as WCAG or WCAG, are guidelines that inform web accessibility standards internationally. They're basic fundamental standards that help us build better, accessible digital content. So we're not just talking about best practices here. We're talking about working within the laws to avoid things like expensive lawsuits. The guidelines outline what you need to do to make sure that your site is usable for people with a range of abilities. So this includes mandating color contrast, using video captions, applying proper spacing and font sizing, and of course the list goes on. So let's talk about color and contrast. Some of the go-to tools that I use to ensure that my websites have proper contrast are webaim.org. Can't go wrong. They'll let you know which color combinations pass and fail each level of the WCAG guidelines. And it's estimated that around 300 million individuals live with some form of color blindness. And the vast majority are men, and it's around 1 in 12. The tool that I use is called coolers.co. It's my go-to option because they drill it down by color blindness type, and like 10 out of 10. A definite good tool to use. So more on color and contrast. So what are some of the common pitfalls that we see? And one very common mistake is indicating meaning or state with the use of colors alone. So if you think about an exercise website where each workout type is highlighted with red, yellow, or green to indicate the intensity level. Now, somebody who is maybe colorblind or has low or no vision, they might not be able to differentiate between the workouts. So you need to ensure that you're not just using color and that you're using your code to ensure that the users can understand the content. Other examples are indicating right or wrong with red and green, or using line or bar charts with legends that are only related to color. This is not to say don't use charts or don't use red and green, but it just means that you have to ensure your code conveys the meaning as well. Okay, let's talk about alternative text, or also known as alt text. Examples of good versus lazy. So you're on a website and it's about adoptable cats. The lazy descriptive text would be a white cat. The good alt text would be a white Persian cat with one green and one blue eye. So now imagine a website for a new tablet that's been released. The lazy version could be a picture of a girl on a couch. The descriptive version would be a young woman sitting on a couch, laughs while she holds a tablet on her lap. Alt text for purely decorative images should state decorative or should have no text at all. So let's talk about writing descriptive functional image descriptions. Please avoid terms like image of or picture of because it's just redundant. An e-commerce website might say lace dress for multiple dresses. And while that's not overtly wrong, it can be more descriptive. So you could say green knee-length lace dress, purple lace dress with short sleeves, orange lace dress with long sleeves. Use proper complete sentences and include a period at the end. So in short, just be descriptive, but be concise. Let's talk about navigation and keyboard accessibility. Skip links are used to ensure that one can skip content that is repeated on every page. So for example, main menu items. That way, while screen readers or individuals using a keyboard, while they're navigating through your site, they won't have to hear that menu over and over and over again. This is a really helpful tool for these individuals. Ensure that your navigation is accessible So try tabbing through it. Like, can you access every link that you're using without using your mouse? That will give you an idea of if your navigation needs a little bit of work. So how does HTML play into having an accessible navigation? You want to make sure that you're using clean semantic code. It's absolutely paramount. And your navigation menus should use the nav tag. Try to indicate when a link opens in a new window. Ensure that nested menu items are accessible. And just a side note, only use tables for tabular data. And I say that because we want to ensure that the appropriate tags like T-body, T-head, TD, TH, that they're all being used, but only for things like a pricing table. It's not for content or layout purposes. And I say this because some people do use tables for their main navigation. Okay, so what about forms and input fields? We all have a contact form, a donate form, a feedback form, a sign up form on our website. So let's talk about how these work in the accessibility space. You don't have to sacrifice attractive design for accessibility. Just be practical first and make it pretty after, is what I often say. You can still use hidden labels and placeholder text, but you have to ensure that your HTML markup is proper and that you clarify each input field and its role. Another thing to consider is error messaging. So we want to make sure that an error is indicated by something other than just a color or an image. So for example, if it's just a red border around your input field, that's not really going to do the trick. Make sure to use op groups and field sets to group things like checkboxes and radio buttons, because it will simplify the process for your users. So let's talk about testing to see if your website is accessible. Well, there's loads of online tools to help you test for accessibility compliance, adhering to best practices by using semantic HTML, alt tagging your images, and using accessible forms and tables is quite often enough. There are some really good tools out there. For example, there's a WordPress plugin called Accessibility Checker by Equalize Digital, and they scan for WCAG compliance. That's a free plugin. W3.org has a full list of available evaluation tools. There are also several private agencies that can do accessibility audits of your website, including one called Hey Nova, and they offer an array of services, including accessibility workshops that are catered to your team. Search engine optimization. When HTML is used properly and structured in a meaningful way, not only is it more accessible, but it's also going to rank better in SEO. And that's because optimizing websites for accessibility and for SEO, they have a common goal, which is to create better user experiences. So using proper header, footer, aside, and nav tags, ordered headings, so using H1s and H2s and H3s in order can be really helpful. Your image alt tags and accessible forms are just a few ways that you can help improve readability and your SEO rankings. People spend more time on sites that are easy to interact with and that are easy to navigate. Conversions and donations can increase and bounce rates can decrease. So you want to stay in the loop in terms of what's upcoming with accessibility. What are the tools that are out there and what are people talking about in terms of accessibility in digital spaces? And I recommend that you use tools like LinkedIn and Reddit, even your website's hosting platform. Subscribe to e-newsletters for different websites or companies that you're interested in, and keep informed about the resources and events that are out there. There are webinars, there are conferences, there are groups, there's even Accessibility Day. It's my experience that most everyone wants to be more accessible online. They simply don't have the time or they don't have the resources to learn how. And as content editors, they can actually improve accessibility. So we developers, we need to act as guides to provide clear directions on how to implement easy accessibility practices. Okay, what are the non-negotiables? How do you get started? Here are a few really brief things that you can do to improve your site today. Number one, don't use click here as link text. It's not good for screen readers as it doesn't provide any context. And you can use more descriptive things like make a donation or learn more about our upcoming events. That's going to work better than just saying click here or learn more. Do provide video captions wherever possible. You can do this fairly easily within YouTube, but if for some reason that's not possible, you can provide a transcript for users who can't interact with the video. Review all of the images on your site and ensure that they have brief, concise alt tags. Again, on decorative images, just leave it empty or use the word decorative. And then as a bonus here, I just want to suggest try using a screen reader. Mac has VoiceOver and Windows has Narrator. And if you arm yourself with the knowledge and the tools that are available to you, you can begin to improve your user's journey. Things to look out for in the next 5 years are web design for invisible disabilities. So we're talking about neurodivergence here. Autism, ADHD, dyslexia. These are things that are coming into the scope now that will be mainstream within the next 5 years for sure. The other thing, of course, accessibility AI. How can it be leveraged to improve accessibility and user experiences? I think there'll be a lot more on this coming soon. You can already see it happening, and I'm excited to see how we can use AI tools to improve the experiences of individuals navigating our sites with disabilities.